Hello, Serge here from the backyard driving range. I have an interesting comment that came in and with a question, and this one comes from Joey D, Joe Delitas from the Villages, Florida, #1 location of Sergeites in the world. And Joe says, did you notice the LPGA woman leading the tournament in California? That's what used to be called a Dinah Shore. I forget what the name of it now is, but it's I think at Rancho Mirage, where they jump in the lake. The champion jumps in the lake after the tournament when they win it, to the left of the 18th green. So that's what he's referring to at a tournament in California. It uses a golf swing that appears to be an excellent PPGS, peak performance golf swing, ? Inbee Park leads by 3 shots, and the announcers think that she is too vertical and needs to turn more. Why? She's leading the tournament, has already won a major. Again, Joe Delitas from the Villages. Great question, Joe. I think part of it is because of the fact that in today's golf world, since about 1992, when I say there was a paradigm shift where we went from vertical swinging, just remember, go back and look what Davis Love looked like when he came out on tour. Go look at almost all your Champions players, many of whom are retired now, like Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson and Tom Kite and Tom Weiskopf and Hale Irwin, Andy Bean, Craig Stadler. All these guys swung the club straight up, straight down and through. But in '92, when the X Factor came in, it was called the X Factor then. Today it's called the rotational swing, and there's been some other variations of it come out called stack and tilt or whatever. The major premise went from high hands to a huge turn. And the reason why the high hands went away is because the body, once your arm reaches your toe line, which is why we swing only to the toe line, your forward arm starts to bend or break, and it starts to rotate, which makes the club go flat, right? So if I get my club in this position up here, and not where I'm only turning to my toe line, right? But as I swing back and as I'm crossing my body, the upper arm starts to hit the body. It's restricted. It starts to break. It starts to rotate, and it starts to bend. And so when all of that happened and the body started moving, they changed a lot of the rules. For example, they said it's okay to move your head a little. I was standing at a teaching coaching seminar in San Francisco. I think it was like 93 or 4, somewhere in there. And the first group of instructors, the top 50 instructors, there was 3 of them, were doing the first presentation of I think that was a 2 or 3 day session up there. They stood up there and they said, okay, we're here to tell you now it's okay to move your head a little. Well, I wanted to raise my hand and jump up and say, how much is a little and why is it now okay when for the last 50 years or whatever we've always stated keep your head still. Anybody who learned golf before 1990, one of the first things they stressed, and I might even go far as to say is pound your head. You got to keep your head still. You can't move your head. Then all of a sudden one day, boom, they changed the rules. Well, why did they change the rules? Because they changed the emphasis from swinging high hands in the backswing to the finish and having basically a nice level tee finish. Again, there's all those pros I mentioned. Just go look at swings of them. Google their names. Go up and look at them. They're all pretty much close to Serge swingers. Club straight up in here, over there. Now, some of them might turn a little bit more than 90 degrees, but back then, even though they wanted you to turn 90, the #1 emphasis was on high hands. And if you didn't turn 90 degrees, they overlooked it. But when the paradigm shift happened to the X Factor, now rotational swing, the emphasis became on turn. You had to hold your hips and turn your shoulders as far as you can go. And the more space you could get between your hips and your shoulders, all right, say the club's my hips and this is my shoulders, the more space I can get in here, they call that the X, the more degrees. And so when that became the emphasis, and all I could see was people's arms starting to collapse around them, the club getting laid off, they changed the concept of the head moving. They didn't care about the right leg because the right leg straightens up for almost everybody doing that. Because as you turn your hips a lot, as long as this hip stays in this attached to this socket, you turn your hips too much, with your shoulder turn, your leg's going to very likely straighten. Very difficult to keep it flexed. You got to really work hard at it. It can be done, but most people don't even realize it. The other thing is as long as your head stays attached to your shoulders by your neck, you start turning your shoulders too much, your head's going to move. So they changed all the rules, all right, of the swing. And they started accepting this new concept of this being perfect. They want the club basically, wherever the shaft is here, they want it parallel to that. Well, all I know is one thing. Which club am I going to hold up longer? This one or this one? Yeah, you're right. It's going to be this one. It's in harmony with gravity, right? I don't even need to be looking at it. At this position, I just let go, it's falling down. Okay, over here, where's it going to fall? All right? Well, I think we know that a light club is in harmony with gravity. A light club will swing much, much faster and easier and more controlled because it is in harmony with gravity. And guess what? The only way God designed our arms is to swing up and down in front of our body, not around with the club getting heavy. And when you do it that way, you put the body under tremendous stress and strain, and that's why there's so much injury today. That's why so many golfers are quitting this game, because their backs are killing them, their necks are killing them, their elbows are killing them, everything's killing them, and they're hitting terrible golf shots. And they can't get anything consistent. The more they practice, they don't get any better, or they get worse, and their body's hurting them. That's why we got the influx, the terrible amount of people leaving the game every year, because they're being taught a swing that it goes against the design of the body, and it goes against physics, the way the world's designed to turn. We want to swing in harmony with gravity. We want gravity as our friend, not our enemy. Okay? And so that's why we want to be vertical. Now, getting back to Inbee Park, very nice golf swing. Very, very controlled. Her knees have moved very, very little. She has it's a little bit late in the swing, and that causes her to get just a little more turn than I'd like to see. She's probably barely 90 or a little bit more. She's got a good firm arms and wrists. She keeps that club good and solid at the top. It's pretty close to 90 degrees, but she gets a little bit deep, but not really bad. Inbee, I'm going to say is she's more vertical than she's rotational, but she still has rotational. And the rotational comes from that little bit too big a turn, which I'm going to estimate is 90 to 100 degrees. And we know we turn only to the toe line, which is about 70 degrees turn. So she's about here, but she's got a nice angle here and everything else. But because she's a little deep, she has to start with her lower body turning a little bit, which brings her arms back and front. But she does manage it, even though she turns it, because her takeaway in her backswing is so slow, and she does go here, she does manage to stay behind the ball, get into impact, and come up to a relatively good, almost tee finish, but she is a little wide on this side too, because she was a little wide back here. She's going to go a little wide there. So I'm going to give her, she's 75% vertical. And I mean, I think I could get her totally vertical in a matter of 10, 20, 30 minutes max. And that would be no problem, because she's that close. And I think that she would not only straighten out her balls even more, because I know she's fairly accurate, but I think she'd get more accurate, but I guarantee she'd get more distance when we get her club totally vertical, and she'd be hitting the ball even more solid than what she hits it now, because I think she probably hits a lot of solid shots, but she's probably going to get she'd get even more solid with fewer mishits, and her misses will be tighter in. So the vertical will really help her in that case, and very likely get her longer. But she's close. So I'm going to call her 75% vertical, 25, 30% rotational, but a very, very mild rotational. But she is so close. So again, why the announcers decrying her as being too vertical? Because vertical's not in. Vertical left 20 years ago now, 1992, when the paradigm shift came with the X Factor. So for the last 20 years, all golf instruction, every PGA pro that's gone through any seminars have been taught nothing but rotational swing theory. And most of the guys that I know that are my age and players that started before, most of them have abandoned their vertical swings and gone rotational. And many of them are having issues with their back, and they're not hitting the ball anywhere as near as solid and straight as they were, but they're staying with it. Why? Because right now everybody thinks that's the thing to do, because that's all that's talked about. But here on Peak Performance Golf Swing, on swingsurgeon.com, when we talk about the Peak Performance Golf Swing, we're talking vertical, because we know it's right. It's the way, because it's 100% physics, physiology, the way God created the world to swing. And He only created our physics as the number one laws we deal with is gravity and centrifugal force, and both of those are most effective straight up and down. Gravity pulling straight down, light club, and that's what we want. And our body is designed for one thing, our arms to swing in front of our body, vertical up and down. Play by those rules, you hit it more solid straight, less stress, tension, stress, and strain to avoid that pain. And what do you get? You get more solid and straight, better shots, shooting lower scores, and feeling great. And that's what it's all about. So for the search for today on vertical, why it's great to be vertical, and why Inbee Park is really close, and that's why she's getting picked on, because we're unfortunately not we're not in, but hopefully we'll get enough of those few surgeons out there, we can maybe turn the world back to being vertical. So with your help, hopefully we can do that, get more people playing vertical golf playing better golf, healthier golf, and enjoying golf more. That's it for the search for today, and I'll be talking to y'all again soon.